You're not tired. You didn't build anything. You didn't push yourself. You didn't struggle through anything real. So why does your body feel heavy? Why does your mind feel full? Why does it feel like something is missing when nothing even happened? That contradiction should bother you. It should feel wrong, because it is wrong. You look at your day. There is almost nothing there. No real output, no real movement, no real result. And still, you feel like something drained you. That's because something did. Not in reality, but inside your head. You were not inactive. You were active the entire time, just not in a way that leaves proof. You were thinking. You were imagining. You were constructing. You were building entire scenarios. You were stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't exist yet. You saw it clearly. You felt it deeply. You replayed it multiple times. You adjusted it. You perfected it, and your brain followed every second of it like it was real. That's the part that costs you. That's the part nobody notices. You don't need to act to feel exhausted. You just need to simulate action long enough and with enough detail, and your brain will spend energy on it like it actually happened. It reacts to detail. It reacts to intensity. It reacts to repetition. And you gave it all of that. You gave it full experiences without reality. So it responded fully. It created emotional weight. It created expectation. It created tension. And when it ended, you were left with nothing real. But your brain was already tired. That's why you feel this way. That's why your energy feels low. That's why your mind feels heavy. You already spent something, but you spent it in a place that doesn't exist. And when the day ends, you don't see progress. You don't see movement. You don't see results. You only feel the aftermath. That quiet discomfort. That low pressure. That strange sense that something is off. And it doesn't go away because it's not coming from one moment. It's coming from accumulation. From everything you started in your head and never completed in reality. From every version of yourself you mentally became but never physically acted on. From every plan that stayed inside thought. From every step that never touched the real world. And your brain doesn't close those loops. It keeps them open. It tracks them silently. It stores them like unfinished processes running in the background. And each one adds weight. Not enough to break you instantly, but enough to change how you feel over time. It builds slowly. It builds quietly. It builds without warning, until one day you feel it clearly. That weight, that pressure, that emptiness. And you don't understand why, because you think nothing happened. But something did. You just can't see it. And that's why it's dangerous. It doesn't look like failure. It doesn't feel like loss. It feels like nothing, and that's exactly why you ignore it. But it's not nothing. It's internal overload. It's unfinished movement, trapped in your head. It's effort without execution. It's direction without action. And the more you stay in it, the heavier it becomes. You don't need to fail to feel empty. You don't need to lose to feel drained. You just need enough unfinished versions of yourself existing at the same time inside your head. And that's exactly what you created. Multiple paths, multiple futures, multiple versions of yourself, all active, all incomplete, all waiting, and none of them real. And that creates pressure. That creates confusion. That creates a constant background weight that never leaves. You start to feel behind. Even if you never started, you start to feel late. Even if nothing actually happened, you start to feel pressure without a visible reason. And slowly, that becomes your normal. You wake up like that. You go through your day like that. You end your day like that. And you think it's just who you are now. But it's not. It's accumulation. And the worst part is you try to fix it the wrong way. You think more. You plan more. You imagine more. And that only adds more weight because you're increasing input without any output. You're filling something that's already full. And eventually, it reaches a point where even small things feel heavy. Even simple actions feel unnecessary. Even starting feels pointless because your brain is already tired of something that never happened. And that's the trap. You exhaust yourself before you begin. You drain your energy before reality even starts. You simulate the result so many times that the process loses meaning. You mentally arrive before taking the first step. And then, when it's time to act, It feels like you're repeating something you already did, and your brain resists it, not because it's hard, but because it thinks it's unnecessary. And that's why you stay stuck, not because you can't move, but because your mind is already tired of moving in a place that doesn't exist, and it keeps pulling you back into that loop. More imagining, more planning, more internal movement, less real action, less real progress, more pressure, more emptiness, and it repeats again and again and again. And you don't even notice when it becomes your default state. You don't notice when it stops being temporary and becomes your baseline. You just start living like this. Low energy, low clarity, low direction, and you think something is wrong with you. But it's not that. You're not empty. You're overloaded. Overloaded with unfinished direction. Overloaded with imagined outcomes. Overloaded with internal movement that never became real. And it has nowhere to go. So it turns into pressure. It turns into weight. It turns into that feeling you keep trying to explain. And the more you ignore it, the stronger it becomes. Because nothing is being released. Nothing is being closed. Nothing is being completed. And your brain keeps carrying it forward. Day after day. Loop after loop. Until something breaks. Until a moment hits. You stop, you sit, and you feel it clearly. That weight. That emptiness. That silent pressure. And for a second, you see it. You see that nothing changed. You see that you're still in the same place. You see that all the versions of yourself you imagined are still just that, imagined. And that realization hits differently. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. Because it's not about failure. It's about absence. Absence of real action. Absence of real movement. Absence of real risk. And that costs more. Because failure ends. Failure gives feedback. Failure gives closure. But unlived effort doesn't. It stays open. It lingers. It follows you. It builds quietly into something heavier than failure. Regret. Not loud regret. Not obvious regret. Quiet regret. The kind that sits under everything. The kind that doesn't speak but never leaves. And that's what you're feeling. Not tired from effort. Not empty from loss. But heavy from everything that never became real. And the only way out of that is not more thinking. Not more planning. Not more imagining. Because that's what built it. The only way out is something real, something small, something imperfect, something that actually exists outside your head. Because the moment something becomes real, the pressure cracks, the loop breaks, the weight shifts, and your mind feels it immediately, not because everything is fixed, but because something finally became real. Because reality releases what imagination traps. Reality closes what thought keeps open. Reality gives your mind something it can finish, and that changes everything, even if it's small, even if it's incomplete, even if it's not perfect. It's real, and real things reduce pressure. Real things create clarity. Real things move you forward, and that's what you've been missing. Not motivation, not discipline, not clarity, but reality. Something solid, something actual, something that exists outside your imagination. Because imagination alone will drain you. It will consume you quietly. It will make you feel like you lived 1,000 lives while doing nothing. And in the end, it leaves you exactly here. Tired without effort. Empty without loss. Heavy without reason. And if nothing changes, if you keep doing everything in your head and nothing in reality, this feeling doesn't go away. It grows. It deepens. It becomes part of you. It becomes your baseline. And one day, you stop questioning it. You stop noticing it. You accept it. And that's when it becomes dangerous. Because now you're not just tired. You're used to being tired. Not from work, but from a life that only exists in your head. And that's the point where most people stay. They don't break it. They don't question it. They don't step out of it. They just keep looping, thinking they're moving, while staying exactly where they are. And the only difference between staying there and breaking out is one thing. Not a big plan, not a perfect system, not a clear vision, but one real action, one step that actually exists, one moment that leaves your mind and enters the world. Because that's where everything changes. And until that happens, you stay here, in this exact state, tired without effort, empty without loss, heavy without reason. and repeating it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next, until you finally decide to stop living everything in your head and start doing something in reality.